Well, Sipple, it says we're live.
Oh, geez, then we better get going.
We better get going. It is 9:01 p.m. Saturday night. We just watched Nebraska knock off Buffalo 28-3 at Memorial Stadium. Good evening, everybody. Parker, Sipple, Lincoln Journal-Star, HuskerExtra.com coming to you live on Facebook and YouTube. We're going to give people a couple minutes to join us. You guys know the drill at this point. Throw questions and comments in the comment section either on Facebook or on YouTube, and we'll get to as many as we can in about 20 minutes here over the course of the next 20 minutes. Simple, 28-3, pretty much controlled most of the game, also left a lot of points out on the field. So what did you make, I guess, overall of Nebraska today?
Yeah, 28-3, and you could argue they left 21 out there.
Pretty easily. Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, they controlled a pretty good team. Here's what I don't like. Here's what grates on me. That all week you hear, oh, boy, Buffalo could be tough. Not necessarily from you, but from a lot of fans. Buffalo could be tough. This is a worrisome game. Then when Nebraska takes care of business, what I don't want to hear is a lot of people saying, oh, it's just Buffalo. You can't have it both ways.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it was a good win. I was in the camp. I mean, I predicted 31-24.
Yep.
I think you predicted about the same,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
So then when Nebraska wins by easily, are we gonna try to pick it apart a lot?
Yeah.
You know?
I wrote that. This is what I wrote before the game in the game on. I wrote that I thought that Nebraska was pretty clearly the superior team, but that until you saw them go out and take care of business in a game like this, you couldn't help but think it was going to be close. And to Nebraska's credit, the defense played really well. I mean, 3 points allowed overall. Buffalo moved the ball a little bit, missed 2 field goals, but the Blackshirts stepped up when needed. Luke Reimer had a heck of a game, 16 tackles, had the interception, had a key 4th down stop. And Nebraska got enough offensively, essentially from Adrian Martinez and Samari Toure over the course of the first half, and then into the second, had the 1-yard drive after the Reimer touchdown to sort of, I mean, more or less put the game out of reach at 21-3. And at the same time, I think, Scott Frost said after the game what he's said a lot recently, which is this: he thinks his team can compete with anybody they play and that they could lose to anybody they play. Mm-hmm. And you saw signs, I think, of both, especially when you put the game in the context of going to Oklahoma next week, of like, hey, they did some nice things, but they can't have 3 touchdowns wiped off the board because of penalty. They can't have 3 missed field goals, even though I think one of them went through the uprights. Mm-hmm. All that stuff, like, that's all going to have to go away if they're going to play with Oklahoma.
I know. It's an interesting conversation. There was a holding on Ben Hart. I imagine he held. I don't know. I didn't see it, but I don't think that's disputable. The pick play that they called Wyatt Lever for was a questionable call. I guess, like Toure said, you just got to be kind of aware of what you're doing and where you are on the field.
And it wasn't even it was Levi Falk up top. It wasn't even him. It was Lever was on the bottom of the formation. And he sort of extended his arms on a guy, but it was way away from them. I mean, it had nothing to do with it.
I think it was a questionable call. And then the last touchdown, the pitch from Smothers to, I think it was Dixon.
Will Nixon.
Yeah, Will
Nixon. Dixon, yeah, it was Dixon.
Will Nixon. It was called an illegal forward pass when it clearly wasn't. So I'd almost put 14 points on the board for Nebraska.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm a little bit bullish on this win. It's annoying that people take away from it. Like what why? I mean, I'm looking up there, Appalachian State's beating Miami. You look around all the time and you see these lower level teams doing pretty well. But then when Nebraska takes care of one, it's just Buffalo. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, Miami of Ohio in the MAC pushed Minnesota right to the brink tonight. Yeah, it does. It definitely happens. Chris Diaz from YouTube. Should we be worried that Connor Culp hasn't watched tape of his kicks pulling to the side? In his interview, he said they felt good, but he had to watch tape. Well, Chris, I mean, right after the game, he hadn't watched the tape of today's outing, and he said he'd go back and try to figure out exactly what happened. The pushing to the right is a little bit of a concern, I think, that he one of his extra points he missed against Illinois was to that side. Then he actually almost missed another one, snuck it in the right side, hooked the last one. and then missed both of them that way. Well, I say both of them because the last one went through. I don't know how, like, it was a very bizarre sequence at the end of the game. But the two that he actually missed out of the three that were judged to be misses today were both pushed to the right as well.
Pushed to the right.
What's the deal with penalties on big plays? Is it just bad luck or something else? Yeah, Chris, Frost said that after the game. He said it almost tongue-in-cheek, but he said, I got to figure out how to have us stop committing penalties on touchdown plays. Which, yeah, I mean, it happened 3 times today. It's not a laughing matter if the game's close in the fourth quarter. It took one. They had one taken off the board. They had a big play taken off the board against Illinois, I think. The wheel route to Samori Toure was 25 yards, and they got Oliver Martin, I think, on an offensive pass.
Yeah, they got him on a pick play. Now, that was more of a pick.
Yeah, it was. It was.
Much more than levers.
Yeah. I mean, on this one this week, like just nobody went with Toure out of the backfield.
Right.
He was in the backfield. He ran the wheel route. 2 guys went with Falk on a slant. They didn't communicate it. He ran up the sideline, and they called an OPI over here away from the play on. So, I mean, you got to do it right. But, yeah, it's Chris, I think it's a little bit of everything. I mean, when you're a penalty-prone team, obviously it's more likely something's going to happen in a big spot. But it's been uncanny the first couple of weeks for Nebraska.
And it is – and don't get me wrong. Nebraska still makes too many mistakes. And there's no – and I don't want to say no way you go beat Oklahoma doing that, but it severely cuts into your chances. I mean, I don't want to make Oklahoma this insurmountable challenge. I mean, Tulane went to Oklahoma and thinking we can score with them.
Yeah.
So, and they did.
Then they did.
So, I mean, I don't know. Maybe Tulane has a quarterback as good as Adrian Martinez. Maybe not. The other concern coming out of this is what we have to really watch this week is the injury situation.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, Austin Allen, his situation we got to watch. Xavier Betts, you got to watch that. Oliver Martin, you see him on the sideline walking into the tunnel with a limp today. I mean, he was out. He didn't play at all.
Right. Neither did Omar Manning, who had a boot on his left foot.
Yeah. I mean, and again, that's sort of why this win's impressive.
Yeah.
Is impressive. I mean, they did it without all those guys.
It's one thing, though. It's just like you say. It's one thing to think and to have confidence that you can go to Norman with a pretty good defense and say, hey, we're going to score with them. It's another thing to actually believe you can do that without Allen and Travis Vokolek
and Oliver Martin
and Omar Manning and Xavier Betts and I mean, at some point.
I mean, I know you have said that you believe Oliver Martin might be their best receiver. I think that too. He might be. They won today without their best receiver.
Yeah.
And maybe their third best receiver,
and
their fourth best receiver.
Samori Toure's put a pretty good step forward in terms of being their best.
That's
he was pretty efficient today, Sipple. 2 catches for 136 and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah,
that'll work.
Yeah.
Matt says, good evening. Getting significant snaps for backups 2 games in a row. When was the last time that happened? Yeah, it's a good point, Matt. I mean, I thought we were standing on the sideline, so we have to go down to the field at the end of the game because post-game interviews are down there. They hold the elevators up here in the press box where we are for coaches afterwards. So we're typically on the field for the last 4 minutes or so. Pretty good looking throw from old number 8.
Oh, yeah.
Coming our way to Chris Hickman, right?
Yeah, he rolled to his right and dropped that, deep throw right in the basket.
Yeah.
Yeah, think about the confidence that Smothers has gained the last 2 weeks. I mean, I assume he has.
Yeah.
I mean, he should. If he didn't gain confidence, he should, because not only did he make that play, he made a great pitch to Nixon on that touchdown that was called back.
Yep. Fred asked, do we bench Connor Culp? Fred, I doubt it.
I don't know who his backup is.
Yeah, Kellen Meyer probably, or maybe Chase Contreras.
I don't even know. It'd be hard for me to say because I don't even know who the backup is.
Yeah, I doubt. I mean, Scott Frost after the game said his quote was that he was scratching his head a little bit. And he said Connor Culp and Cam Taylor-Britt are 2 of our best players.
What did you make of his comments about Cam Taylor-Britt? Did you think that was I thought that was curious that he would single out Taylor-Britt.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was interesting to me because I thought Scott Frost clearly ranks not that he thinks about it exactly this way, but the ranking of the punt return errors over the first 3 weeks. Clearly the one against Illinois was the worst in taking that safety. But the one today, he slotted definitely ahead of the one last week in terms of being an error. Yeah, because he said categorically today, Cam has to be loud and communicate to his teammates and get everybody away from that ball. Last week, even after seeing the film and all that, he sort of said, well, we can't have that error, but it's a tough one. It took a bad hop on him, all that. He was pretty unequivocal after the game today. He said that cannot happen.
Yeah. Probably among, I guess you're supposed to yell Peter, Peter, Peter for some reason.
Yeah, I'll tell you after.
Okay.
So anyways, he said, I love Cam like a son. But it's 3 weeks in a row where they've had a really bad error on punt return, catastrophic error. Now, it didn't cost him against Fordham, and it didn't cost him against Buffalo, but you can pretty much take it to the bank that cost you against a team like Oklahoma. Certainly did against Illinois.
Yeah, Cam Taylor-Britt's not off to a great start.
No.
This year. I mean, he's playing pretty good defensively, as Scott said he's playing better than pretty good defensively. He gave up a couple pass plays today, though, and they were throwing at him today.
Yeah, they were. The first two teams didn't really go after him much, but Buffalo wasn't afraid of him today. Alex says, really cool of us to host middle school refs to officiate today's game. Yeah. Alex.
I totally agree, Alex. Big Ten.
Pretty damn impressive what Iowa's done the first 2 weeks. I mean, that's the first thing that comes to mind.
That's what stands out.
Dominated Indiana and then beat Iowa State, who some people thought was a playoff team.
Right.
Today.
The experts have been, as far as Ohio State goes, the experts have been saying Ohio State's taken a step back this year.
Yep.
And now you didn't know for sure after Minnesota, but today now you listen to the experts. You wonder if they're taking a step back.
The thing that's striking about Ohio State through 2 games, I mean, Stroud can really play, and their receivers are out of this world. There's no doubt about it. But, man, Minnesota ran it all over them, and then Oregon ran for 270 and 3 touchdowns today.
You can run on Ohio State.
We saw that even a little bit from Nebraska. Nebraska ran for 200-plus against them in the first game last year, and they weren't really – Ohio State got it going in the middle of the year, but this is 2 straight years now where that defense has been susceptible. Good evening, gentlemen. Great to hear from you, Luke says. Hey, Luke,
Hi,
how's
Luke.
it going?
How are you, Luke?
Does the inability of the offensive line to get any significant push against an opponent like Buffalo create a major concern going forward, or is it fixable and something that could get better as the season goes on?
No, it's a concern.
Yeah.
I mean, I think through 3 games now, Luke, you say concern. Now, offensive lines can get better during the course of a season. A lot of offensive lines play their best toward the middle and end of a season, which that's what you hope. It's surprise. This is somewhat surprising to me what we're seeing, which is basically running backs getting little to no room, and so it's hard to judge the running backs.
Yeah.
Actually.
Yeah, the tailbacks today combined 31 carries for 106.
Yeah, that's right.
And until late, I mean, Gabe Ervin had a 21-yarder on an option pitch late in the game.
11-yarder. He had an 11-yarder and a 21-yarder, and I thought, okay, here they go.
Yeah. It just never
really happened.
Yeah, never really happened. Is it time for Nebraska to officially change their identity to a game control team that relies on its defense, Jack asked? I mean, year in and year out. I mean, certainly – that's what they look like so far this year. Now, the main concern I think you have about that is what we just said about being able to get the about the importance of doubling up around halftime, deferring, and then trying to play that possession game where you score before that half and get the ball back. But that's what they are right now. I mean, that's what they are, and that's that's the way it works in the NFL. When every game's going to be relatively competitive, I mean, you
try to get the ball. You want the ball in the second half.
Yeah, you want the ball in the second half, and it's that going into half, coming out of half that really makes a huge difference in so many.
With 5:53 left in the first half was gargantuan in this game. Now, Nebraska didn't come out in the third quarter with like gangbusters at all.
Nope. They struggled in the third quarter. Yeah. Until so they got the touchdown after the Reimer interception, first play of the fourth quarter. 1 yard. Okay, they punched it in, and then the only other score they had was another big hit. First play, 68 yards again to Teray. So, yeah, definitely a lot to clean up on offense. Although it's interesting. I mean, Frost said after the game, they had 636 yards or whatever last week on 95 plays. It didn't feel like they were really going on offense.
Well, it didn't feel like they got a rhythm.
Yeah.
It's a lot of this is just Adrian. It falls on Adrian's shoulders, right?
Yeah, it does. It does.
And he, you know what? The good news is going to Oklahoma, you have a really confident quarterback who seems really healthy.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, he does.
I mean, he's healthy mind, healthy body. He's playing with confidence. And we'll see. I mean, Tulane, like I said, Tulane knew they were going to score on Oklahoma.
Yeah.
All right. Maybe Nebraska's offensive line can move Oklahoma a little bit.
Defense is pretty solid, Chris. Yep, definitely. What does Nebraska need to do to get the run game going? Yeah, JJ, we sort of talked about that. Maybe more perimeter runs and less up the middle. Yeah. I mean, you've seen some of that get into the edge. But, man, I mean, if you're not able to run the ball between the tackles, you're just not – okay, you might hit a big one on the edge.
That's interesting to me, just the loss of Vokalek. Now, I'm not talking about any specific sort of run plays, but just his blocking up front, I think is really missed.
Yeah.
God dang. And I'll tell you something. Man.
Yeah.
I mean, if you go down to Oklahoma without Allen and Vokalek.
Yeah, Teray is nice, Chris said. Yeah, he's
Teray's a good player, and he's a good player, and he's a really mature player. He's a great roster guy. The guys like him. He's you know what? You know he's going to be there.
Yeah. Yep.
And you know what? He's going to run the right routes. He's going to make the right plays. You don't worry about it.
He's got a little bit of that telepathy. He's just on the same page with Martinez already, and they played 3 games together. But he said on the touchdown they scored right before halftime, he said, in practice this week when we got this look, it was a touchdown, and so I figured, we had it. He said, I knew as long as everything went right, which he meant protection and ball. He said, I thought before the snap, I was thinking touchdown the whole way. So, offensive line needs to step it up real quick. Ron Burgundy, yes. True. Yes. Adam, also true. Yes. Nebraska left a lot of points on the field. Henry is also down. Okay. Yeah. We don't know. I mean, he just hit the turf really hard, and I'm not sure if he hit his head on the turf or what, but he went back to the locker room. He came back out, and after halftime, he was out on the sideline. He didn't have his pads on, and he didn't have his helmet. So, a lot of times when a guy's done for the day, the trainers will take the helmet just to be sure. So, yeah, that's definitely one to watch. Vokalek and Casey Rogers each went through workouts on the field before the game. So, I mean, it'd be sort of buzzard's luck for Nebraska if they got Vokalek back next week and then Austin Allen didn't play. But we'll just have to wait and see, I guess, on that. Special teams this week, 3 missed field goals need to be fixed. Yeah, Greg couldn't agree more. Let's see. Our run game is lacking. Yep. A couple of nice counters late. Yeah. They have some – it's funny, Jeremiah, that you say that. I mean, this is the best way I know how to describe it, Simple. Nebraska has a bunch of nice wrinkles for their run game, the option stuff, the counter stuff. But, in order for a wrinkle to be good over the course of the season, you have to be wrinkling off a staple that you do.
Yeah, your base stuff needs to work.
They actually run – they've gotten some good production off of all of their, derivatives, but the main stuff hasn't worked.
Right. That's what Frost emphasized in the post game is that they got to get more in their base run game. They got to get more from their base run game.
Yeah.
The downhill run game. And I give – you know what? I give Frost credit for trying.
Yeah.
He didn't go away from it.
Nope.
They kept trying. They kept pounding it up there.
Yep.
Just to no avail most of the time.
Patrick says all in on hip Teray.
Yeah, I guess.
Where was Omar? Omar did not play today. He was here. He was on the sideline, but he had a walking boot on his left foot, and he did not play. Freshman running backs looking good. Greg, Irvin got it going a little bit in the second half, but, man, they need those guys to make some big strides quickly, I think.
Yeah, again, I don't know. I don't want to put too much of this on the running backs.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of room on the first level, and there's not a lot of room on the second level, so the third level becomes a pipe dream.
Yeah.
You know.
Yep.
I mean,
Frost might run the I and the pistol against Oklahoma. Well, they ran both tonight. They ran the I formation on the goal line with DeAndre Thomas as a fullback. That was sweet. And they're running quite a bit of pistol. They love running that option stuff out of there. And then tonight, you started to see some of the wrinkles out of that, the passing stuff with Trey out of the backfield. Some of that's based on the same looks that they're given. So,
what the hell is wrong with the offensive line? Excuse my language. What is the deal?
yeah, they're just not getting much push. I mean, here and there. Thought it was interesting. Like, I'm not saying I'll be interested to watch it in the morning. I'm not saying that this is the main difference because Matt Sickerman is not the only player who's not consistently generating push. But I found it interesting that when Norden Nueli came in for a couple snaps at right guard, they immediately pulled him around the left side and got 11 yards behind him, then ran the option to his side and got 21. And then he went out of the game and they stalled out. Like, I think that's a little bit of habit. I'm not saying that Nori Noel is like the key to reviving the run game, but I wonder the longer it goes and the longer you go without seeing a lot of progress made, the more you wonder if perhaps there'll be jobs on the line.
Was Bando available today?
No, he wasn't. I didn't even see him out there, I didn't think.
Yeah.
Why are they wearing? People ask us this every week. Well, there's a mask mandate in Lincoln through September 30th. I mean,
and we're in the press box where they're absolutely mandated.
Yeah. Not complicated. I was probably top 7 or 8 right now. Yeah. Matt, it's going to be really interesting to see if they can keep it going.
You sound a little bit skeptical.
I'm not necessarily skeptical. I just, when was the last time they won the West?
When was it, by the way?
I don't know. Well, they had that great year in 12, right?
I was going to say 12 or 13.
Have they been back to Indy since then?
I don't think so.
Need to run outside the tackles, right? Yeah, Brian, we're talking about that a little bit. Thank you, guys. This is great. All the engagement. Damon Benning was the color guy on TV. He said hip hip hooray, FYI. Oh yeah.
Okay,
DB. Do you think the linebackers can be real dudes in Big Ten play, Josh? Interesting you asked that. I was telling Sipple before the game that I wasn't down on Nebraska's inside linebackers. And again, they played a ton of guys last week against Fordham and all that. But I was curious if that trio of Reimer, Henrich, and Klarvik was quite as dynamic as I thought they had the potential to be going into the season. But tonight was by far the best they played. I mean, Reimer was obviously really good, made a bunch of big plays, but Nick Henrich was all over the place too. 8 tackles. I thought he played really well. We'll see more about that this week. And then Klarvik sort of come along a little bit too. I thought he played probably his best game so far too.
That play by Reimer when he picked the ball and ran down the sideline, I thought he showed excellent running ability. I mean,
Frost might call him over this week and say, "Hey, boy."
He ran it really well in traffic.
Yeah, I know.
He could have ducked out of bounds, and he kept hammering it up in there.
Yeah, he did.
A little stiff.
He almost scored. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a very impressive run.
Yeah, it was. And then it's interesting because there's that play, and then if you contrast that with the play he made on that 4th down, where he sifted through all the traffic in the middle of the field and went from the middle between the hashes all the way out to the sideline to make that play on a swing pass.
Yeah, he got there quick.
I mean, that's a pretty diverse skill set to be able to do the one thing and the other and play in the box. I mean, if he plays like that going forward, Nebraska's going to be all right.
16 tackle days, a good day in the big any league.
Yep. Oregon looked good. Yeah, Greg, they did. Noelle needs to play more, AM says. We'll see if that happens.
Okay. Hey, Parker, does Austin need to start looking at changes, or does he just say, no, we're gonna ride?
I mean, you got to have production at some point, right? And I don't know how he's grading those guys, but the proof's in the pudding at some point. And Frost, I thought it was interesting. Frost made a point of naming all of his coaches on the defensive side and saying, man, they did a great job this week. And then he said, on offense, we got to be able to run our base stuff better. And I mean, you can't blame him for saying that. You would have liked to have seen him try to stick with it a little bit more against Illinois. We talked a lot about that. But, at some point, if you're not going to – if a group's not getting the job done, you're going to try to find somebody who can at some point, I would think. And that's especially true. It's especially true because Greg Austin has talked about the playable depth. Well, we have much better playable depth. Well, maybe we'll find out at some point. Should we call it there?
Yeah, let's call it good.
Let's call it there. Oklahoma won 76-0. On that note, it will be a big week in Lincoln as Nebraska gets ready to go down to Norman to take on Oklahoma a week from tonight. For now, Nebraska beats Buffalo 28-3 at Memorial Stadium. Thank you all for tuning in on this. Check journalstar.com/Huskers, huskerextra.com for all kinds of coverage from this game, and obviously getting ready for Oklahoma week coming up. For Sipple and Parker, thanks for watching.